You're this perp back with another video, and I just got done watching Cobra Kai season 6 part 2. Man, what what a crazy few episodes, man. What a crazy set of 5 episodes. This picks up right where we left off with part 1, where we're getting right into the Tet Kai, this big grand world tournament where we have 16 teams competing against one another. Cobra Kai's there, Miyagi-Do's there. But what I love about this is it's not just Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do like clearing everybody. No, there's actual competition for both sides. And the way that they kind of just throw you into this, and how they set up the tone with Quan kind of being the antagonizing, Miyagi-Do right off the gate. And we get this new introduction of Louis Tan's character. He's the sensei of the Iron Dragons, and they are the big dogs in this whole entire competition. Even Cobra Kai, like I said, is struggling to, maintain dominance like they are. While on top of that, you have Miyagi-Do just in kind of shambles at first. Like they're not able to find their rhythm, because you have Daniel kind of just leaving all of a sudden because he's just really caught up on the whole Mr. Miyagi stuff and where that goes, and him figuring out that Mr. Miyagi murdered somebody kind of really is fucking with his flow. And him and Johnny are still button heads. And you have our Miyagi-Do's champion, Robbie. He's really just conflicted, and he's really distracted because him and Tori aren't really... They're not like at odds with each other, but they realize that them being in love or just their relationship is very distracting, so they have to kind of put it on pause. This causes Robbie to take a lot of L's earlier on before they get into the elimination rounds. And there's a lot of 2v1s, 2v2s, and I really like that this tournament really pushes characters to the edge, not only on the mat, off the mat as well. Because you even have situations where Miguel has to really deal with just knowing that he wishes that he was the captain. He almost kind of goes back into his Cobra Kai bag, and he's just really frustrated at the way that Robbie is kind of acting, and he's allowing himself to be distracted. And there's also a quick little storyline of him actually going back to his mom because they had like a family emergency where it almost looked like that they were going to kill off Carmen during the whole pregnancy thing. Something's going wrong with the baby, but that ends up, being the complete opposite, thank God, because that would have been really tragic for Miguel. But it set up a perfect segue for Kenny to get back into the story because of the whole Devin shenanigans. And I really liked that Amanda also had to kind of step in and help with that whole situation and fix things between him and Anthony. There's just a lot of different storylines that they definitely had to juggle. Did they do it perfectly? I would say for the most part, yes, and some parts definitely felt rushed and just very convoluted. I'm not going to hold you, because they did introduce a lot, and that's a lot to kind of wrap up, or there's a lot of loose ends that need to be tied by the end of this second part. We have a third part, and I'm glad now, looking at it, that they did do 15 episodes, and I think they're going to wrap this story up with a bow. But we're going to get into the ending. But I like I said, I like all these different storylines, even though it does seem really chaotic. A lot of things seem random. Like there's one point where Daniel ends up in like a fucking dog cage. I felt like that was kind of unnecessary, and it just kind of goes nowhere, but it leads to something later on where we get the reveal that Silver is actually behind everything. He's behind the Iron Dragons, and Louis Tan's character, he pretty much bought another dojo. It seems kind of random. Like I said, it wasn't the best plotted out storyline, but it just made sense to kind of get his storyline wrapped up, because they still have to deal with Kreese, and now they have to deal with Silver. We also have Chosen in here. He's crashing out over Kimiko. Kimiko seemingly is with somebody else, which leads him to have a weird kind of fling with Kim, Sensei Kim, and it feels very forced. But at the same time, I'm happy for Chosen, because he definitely deserves to be happy and doesn't deserve to be alone. I think having him have that little fling with Kim, Sensei Kim, makes sense. And we also kind of see a little bit more of her personality kind of blossom, especially when she lets her hair down. I was like, damn, she looking real. She was looking like a snack. She looked way better than when she has her hair all up and stuff. Her hairline looking crazy. Just saying. But even though that could have been plotted out a little bit, but it was definitely one of those rushed kind of plot lines. I'm still happy for Chosen. And Robbie dealing with just being a leader, him and Miguel having that kind of moment, that kind of realization, that brother to brother, and even coming to that realization as a group that this is the last time that they're going to have to fight. It's win or lose. So pretty much throughout this whole entire tournament, you have just all these different characters working their shit out throughout this tournament. You have Demetrius and Hawk going through their whole back and forth, and that gets kind of messy as well. They also have to kind of work out their issues, because they're their strongest tag team by far when they work together, and you really see that when they're doing these competitions, and how they're able to go back and forth like as a tag team, and also relay things with Kenny. And Kenny is a great addition to this, because you get all their best fighters to show up by the end of this tournament. You have Robbie representing Miyagi-Do. Then you have Sam also representing Miyagi-Do. You have Tori representing Cobra Kai for the females as well. She has this whole rivalry, or this little short kind of little rivalry between this other female character that's on the Iron Dragons, Zara. And Zara is pretty much like this influencer, and she's really dope. She has a really interesting style, but her personality is just really one-dimensional. And that whole kind of storyline between her and like Robbie, that was a little messy. That they could have just did without that, but I understand it sets up like this whole little conflict. It's meant to kind of put pressure on our characters. But yeah, you have that, and you have this really big ass motherfucker named Axel that I don't even know how this dude is like a teenager and whatnot. He represents the males for the Iron Dragons and whatnot, and he's just the fucking wall. His defense is fucking crazy, but then once he goes on offense, he's a fucking monster. I could definitely see him popping up in other like action movies or something like that down the line after Cobra Kai, because that man, he had a thing for Sam. He thought he could bag that. You know what I'm saying? That really went nowhere. He was definitely getting abused and stuff by Louis Tan's character. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but yeah, I'm curious to see where that's going to go, or if they're ever going to explain certain things about his character. But he's just meant to be there as just like another obstacle for not only Robbie. It's also dope to see him match up with like Miguel as well, because of the whole Sam stuff. Dope things. I like the matchups. The matchups are really interesting. A lot of matchups I didn't really see coming, like Robbie and Axel. That's a very weird mixed match because like Robbie is a lot smaller. But anyways, it ends up when we get to the final couple episodes that they are finally able to beat Cobra Kai fair and square. But because the Russians decide they want to cheat, and they're using like sports enhancement drugs and stuff like that, they get kicked out. So then Cobra Kai gets back put into that. So it kind of starts up the whole cycle once again. But before they're able to even move forward and go about the tournament and finishing up the brackets and stuff, Russia decides to crash out on everybody, and it turns into an absolute brawl. And this is where we get to see a lot of dope matchups and tag teams and just all out brawls and fights and characters coming together, squaring up with one another, having Kreese fighting Silver. There's just so much going on in this second part that personally I feel like the pacing was better in part one, because building up to the Sekai Tekkai was dope. And I also just like that the Sekai Tekkai itself delivered as far as being a tournament that's just completely chaotic. I think just having all these different storylines and a lot of stuff feels a little unnecessary. Could have made this feel a little bit more better paced out. That's just like kind of my little nitpick or my gripe with part two. Even though I do like that it's a lot more action packed for a finale, for a final season. But the biggest cliffhanger they left this on, as you know, the guy that's running the whole Sekai Tech guy after he's wakes up from being knocked out, and this whole time, you know, there's all these schemes going around. Fucking Kreese brings a fucking knife, which leads to Quan picking up that knife and going after Axel. He was going to use it on Axel because he feels embarrassed. You know, not only embarrassed the first time losing to Robbie, then he starts to be embarrassed towards Axel. He starts to just be in a fit of rage, takes the knife, and then, you know, he ends up messing up on a move or whatnot and ends up stabbing himself. And now the part two leaves it off with Quan seemingly dying, which that is pretty crazy. I was not expecting those types of ramifications. I thought that, you know, somebody else was going to die. Maybe Johnny would have got stabbed or something like that, or it was framing it to look like Danielson was going to pretty much jump in front of that knife. But there was so much going on and nobody could hear him yell out. He was the only one that noticed that Quan picked up that knife and was going after Axel. So now it's just like, where do we go from here? And are they going to have to call off this tournament? Or it's just, man, that's unfortunate for Quan, but it's also on him. I still don't feel bad for Devin, even though she did own up to her mistakes or was able to make things right between Kenny. Kenny was able to take that pretty well. You know, I still don't forgive her for what she did. I still think it was really snaky. But anyways, overall, this part two was really fucking crazy. I think, like I said, it delivers in a lot of areas. Does it have issues? Absolutely. But I think they will be able to land the plane with part three. Let me know, what was some of your favorite fights in this Sekai Tekkai? What were some of your favorite moments of part two overall? Where do we go from here with now somebody seemingly ending up dead? And I like that they kind of teased that the next spinoff that we're going to possibly get is a younger Miyagi. And I like that whole scene between him and Daniel. We kind of got that little flashback scene. And it makes it seem like, yo, we could get a more serious show, a more serious in tone. But yeah, let me know how you guys feel about it. Do you feel like they rushed too many things? And what didn't you like about this part two? Let me know your thoughts. Till next time, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.